what we're going to do, we're going to install an Etaker DC to DC charger in Doug's Jeep here. And the Etaker will give him 500 watts of DC charging and up to 500 watts of AC charging. So we'll get doing that, get it installed, and I'll give you a little bit of details on this Etaker DC to DC charger. A DC to DC charger is a device that takes the power from the alternator in your car and utilizes that to charge up either a battery or a power station. So if, for example, you have a 240 amp alternator like my friend's Jeep does, that's 240 amps available for anything to draw from that needs to power something. So for example, the Etaker F1000, which I just helped install into my buddy's Willie's Jeep, because we are going to beat it up, folks. That Jeep is headed to the Rubicon Trail down in California, and it's going to run the Rubicon and then spend another week out in the woods with the battery and power station in that vehicle, charging up a refrigerator, a CPAP, and who knows what else. What better place to test something than in an off-road environment where it's going to get rocked and rolled and beat and bashed and held up against and get hot and all kinds of stuff. So the idea here is he's going to beat that thing up. He's going to put it through paces that you likely never will. Now let me tell you, the Etaker F1000 is a 1000 watt DC to DC charger. It can take 500 watts of power from your alternator and charge up a battery or a power station, and it can take 500 watts from your solar power and charge up your battery or your power station, and it can combine them. I like those kind of chargers. Not all of them have those MPPT solar inputs built into them. So having one that does gives you a lot of options. So we took this Etaker F1000 and we installed it into my buddy's Jeep. And what we did is we ran from the alternator to the Etaker F1000, from the Etaker to his 12-volt lithium battery, and from the battery to a converter, and then to his Opus Mega 1 power station. Now the idea here is that the Etaker is going to be running all the time, and it will keep that battery fully charged, which is a 1280 watt hour battery. The Opus can then draw off that battery. That way, that Opus Mega 1 should always remain charged. The battery should remain charged. And when he shuts everything down for the night, he's now got 2300 watt hours of power to be able to keep his refrigerator and anything else working that he needs to keep working. At the very start, when we got this unit installed, I was impressed with the fact that it had all the cables needed. We didn't have to make any cables to get the Etaker installed. The only thing we had to do was make the cables that go from the Etaker to the battery. And then, of course, we needed to make cables to go from the battery to the Opus Mega 1. All that's fairly easy. But the Etaker itself comes with everything you need to install it. And it has a Bluetooth app that, well, if you've watched my channel, you know I'm not always fond of. But I have to admit that Etaker's wasn't that hard to set up, though I will tell you, you really gotta read the book. I tend to just dive into things, so you turn it on and try to connect and nothing's working. But if you read the book, it says push and hold the button to start the unit, then hit the button twice to go into one mode, and then push and hold the button again for 3 more seconds to go into the pairing mode. And we didn't do that at first. So that took us a little while. We went back and read the book and went, oh duh, read the book. Once I got the app installed, of course it wanted to update. Now I will tell you right off the bat that that update process did not work that great. It said it needed to update and the update failed. It didn't work. But it went right into the app. And the app was working. So I thought, okay, let's mess around here. I did not read the book. I just started playing with the app, and through playing with the app, I was able to figure out everything that you could do in the app and how it worked. It was actually pretty cool. The one thing that I kept missing in the beginning, though, is that there's this little button above the F1000 icon that says run. Well, you do actually have to push that in order for everything to work. I mean, it's kind of silly. In a way, you'd think I would have caught that. But once I was in the app and everything was working, and I went to the setup and clicked on the setup icon, a couple things I noticed. One, there was no way to change it from Celsius to Fahrenheit that I could find. And I would like that. So Etaker, maybe update your app for those of us that use, Fahrenheit and not Celsius. So I didn't have that option, and that's okay. We'll live with it for now.
But I did notice an update option. So I clicked on the update and gee whiz, guess what? It updated just fine. So that's the first note. Update doesn't work when it tells you to update in the beginning, but it will work once you get into the app. It works fine. The only other issue that we had was finding the actual app. There's a little, one of those little scan codes in the book. Well, that just takes you to the manual that you're actually reading already. So that's kind of silly. So, and it tells you what the app is, but it took forever to find the app. We finally had to read and read and read until we went, okay, wait, it's the Etaker whatever app. And when you look it up, looking it up under Etaker won't work. You got to get the correct app name, which I'll pop up right here, and then it will work. My only complaints with the Etaker F1000 is actually the manual, getting the app and not being able to change to centigrade, and maybe that when it wants to upgrade in the beginning it doesn't, but it does later, and that's fine. But the unit itself works great. I was really impressed with how easy it was to change settings, to make it work, to figure it out. It was all very easy. We were getting great power off of it. Now, a couple comments about it that we discovered is, one, in order to change settings, you have to stop it. You have to stop the unit. It'll let you go in and try to change them, but they won't change. You have to stop the unit, shut it down in the app, not by turning it off, then change the setting. And then once the setting actually takes, so you have to give it a second, then you push run again. Now, the next thing that we noticed is that once you push run, or if you need to turn on and off, say, battery charging or something like that, it can take about 60 seconds or more, maybe even up to 90 seconds before everything starts to work, or at least it starts to report that it's all working. So that is something that we noticed. It's a little bit slow to react to the controls. But once it's set up and working, then you don't have to change the controls again, actually. That works great. Now you can adjust the voltage that it starts at. In the case of my buddy's Willys, because it idled at 12.5 to 12.6 volts, we had to go to the lowest setting on the Etaker, which is 12.5 volts. I personally would like to be able to change that to 12.4 or just 12 volts, because at that point I can turn it on and off myself, but I know that when it's idling at 12.5 and 12.6 volts, the Etaker does tend to cycle on and off. It waits till it sees it to go above 12.5 volts and it starts to charge, and then when it drops to 12.5 on the alternator, the Etaker stops charging and it waits for it to go back to 12.6. So we did see that where it would cycle on and off. Now if I put it in my Jeep, which idles over 13 volts, that wouldn't have been an issue at all. I could have set it at 13 volts and it would only run when the vehicle's running. My buddy was able to put his phone on his dash and see everything, and he could jump between his Opus Mega 1 Bluetooth app and his Etaker app without any issues at all. If you're looking for a DC to DC charger or a way to charge up your extra battery, I highly recommend DC to DC chargers, and I am very impressed with the Etaker F1000. I like the way it operates. The setup was easy. I like that they send all the cables, and in fact there was more than enough cable to connect that unit to my friend's alternator and put it in the back of his four-door Jeep. And I will tell you this, when he gets back from the Rubicon, I'll get a full report on how well that Etaker F1000 worked and see what he thinks then. But so far, he's super impressed. He loves it. He gave me 2 thumbs up on it. So we're going to see how it goes. But honestly, if I were you and I'm looking for something like this, I would check out Etaker. I'll drop a link down below for you to check out. Meanwhile, folks, I'll drop another video right over here for you to check out. Y'all have a great day. The old Jarhead out.